Good day, guys. Today, and in this one today, we're going to be looking at the Cemu emulator. This enables us to play our Wii U games, and to be more specific, Zelda Breath of the Wild on our PCs. Now, this has been out for a little bit, and we've been teased with all kinds of, well, pretty much playable game. However, it's just been even more advanced. The emulator's just been updated, and we've got sneak footage of what it can now do. So, I'm not going to tease you anymore. Let's get stuck straight in. Right there, so like I said, Cemu are releasing the latest version of the emulator. And like I normally say, this one is big. This one has brought huge improvements, especially from the footage that I've seen of it. This one will be version 1.7.4, and according to the release notes, it will be available from the 2nd of April. Now, that's for the Patreon members, in other words, those who donate. I'll put links in the description down below if you want to go down that route. However, on the 9th, 7 days after that, it will be released to everybody. Every member of the general public. It will be free and available to everybody on their official website. Again, links for that in the description down below. But the biggest one for this one is the footage that they've shown. And this is it. It's Zelda Breath of the Wild. And I'll talk about this in more detail in just a while. But look at it. Look at what they've managed to do. Now, this is just snippets of the actual footage. I don't want to show you the entire reel of what they've recorded because it's not fair on this. This is for Patreon members. But I want to give you a taste, just a taste of what is available to everybody pretty damn soon. It looks beautiful, doesn't it? It's a huge improvement from last time. So let's talk about the emulator itself, and then we'll get on to the actual improvements with this new build in terms of Zelda. Right then, first off, this one is being classified more as a bug fix release. So in terms of actual speed ups and improvements in, well, like I said, speed, that's not so much of a big deal. However, in terms of compatibility and in terms of fixing glitches, bugs, and all that kind of stuff, from their official notes, it's stating that we've got graphical improvements. Of course, this will go hand in hand with the bug kind of stuff going on. Also, we've got optimizations, especially in terms of the shader speed ups. Now, this is pretty good. I've got no idea how much of a speed up this will bring, but we all know the Achilles heel of the Cemu emulator. It is those shader caches. If you can speed those up, or even if one day we can have that completely gone so they just play, well, that'll be a good day. For now, we have to share our caches between us if we play it for the first time, or build them up. We know the rules. Again, more information in regards to this and how you can get around that kind of stuff, I'll put links in my guide down below. It is very useful, and it's got a few extra features on there also. Okay then, so back to this then. Like I said, we've got the optimization, shader speed ups, bug fixes like we talked about, and graphic packs. These are getting a big overhaul apparently. Now this states that it's texture format options. Now again, I've not managed to get my hands on this, so I can't go into too much detail, but from what I'm picking up in layman's terms, it's kind of the fact where beforehand the graphics packs were more about even lighting effects on very rare occasions, in other words getting rid or adding bloom here and there. It was mostly about the resolution. Now apparently you can change stuff around with the actual textures from within the game and the way these are brought to you. Now this fixes quite a lot of games. It did in the last build, 1.7.3. It allowed us to get Tekken Tag Tournament working. Before that, you had to have an AMD card. Now, the way the textures are interpreted, depending on which side of the fence you sit on, whether it be NVIDIA or AMD, dictated on which games were more buggy. Now, there was only a few that slipped through this hole, but with the more recent builds, they've managed to get around that. Now, apparently, you can actually add even more options and especially get rid of that gulf between games working depending on what kind of GPU you're using. It's more options, and more options are better things. The more options we've gotten to play with enhances our games, allows us to get more playable, and of course builds a more rounded experience for us all. But apparently it doesn't just fix those games that were problematic, it also gives us better quality graphics in terms of colours, depth and shadows, more options like I was just talking about. This kind of stuff not just fixes games, not just makes them fully playable, but it can also highlight them and enhance them in different ways. Now this is one of the huge strong points that the PC brings when we start to emulate our games. Now by no means am I saying it's the PC Master Race thing that is more powerful than anybody. Of course technically it is, but the console has still got their niche in all the different types of markets out there. Now, each console has a strong point. Each console has its first-party support, its games, its franchises, its series. They're absolutely beautiful, each one that it brings. And each one has got a place in my house just along with my PC because I want to push them to the limit. Also, though, Nintendo are probably the most favourite out of all of those because they push things further. They come up with brand new ideas. They come up with brand new consoles that completely think outside the box. They come up with new controller support, and their first party support is probably the best out of all of them. So by no means am I putting anybody down here. I'm just saying we should all work as a team. But of course, when you're doing all this kind of stuff, my quick gypsies warning, pay for what you play. Otherwise you wouldn't have these gems, these masterpieces, these things from the developers and console makers that make it worthwhile buying these consoles in the first place, and that spurs each one of the other console developers to spur them on even further to make masterpieces such as Zelda Breath of the Wild, which is what brings me to this, which is the footage that the Cemu team have bestowed upon us. It is absolutely beautiful. This is what the current build that is going to be released looks like. Now, first off, you can see straight away the foliage is there, the grass is there. The Kingdom of Hyrule is once again blooming in all its glory. And not only that, I can see other things such as physics is now working. Not only is this looking beautiful, but it's actually working the way that it should be. So the fire, the grass, everything reacts to the environment the way that it should be working. Something which is, it seems to be hidden. When I was seeing footage from people dropping out of maps and stuff, it looked like the grass and all that kind of stuff was there, but you just couldn't see it. But now, not only have we got grass, but we've also got the water, and we can swim like little children within the lakes of watery goodness. Now this isn't just good because obviously we can swim, but beforehand we couldn't, which meant that we were stuck because the physics wasn't working. And now we've got the ability to swim, now we've got the ability of a lot of physics from what I can see. It means that we can probably progress through the game and enjoy it as it was intended. Now the developers do say that this is not 100%, especially not in terms of speed. So there will probably still be bugs available to us. I wouldn't give you the seal of approval saying this is anywhere near completable or anything like that, but it's one hell of a lot more playable. Now, one of the biggest bugs that I talk about is they're not concentrating on speed, so you will be hampered with those low frame rates that are in there. Now, people do mention that you can utilize Cheat Engine, an awesome little program that allows you to squeeze the last bit of performance either out of your system or the emulator to get it looking visually like you're running at 30 frames per second in this case. The problem is that that literally does what it's saying on the tin. It cheats it into thinking. Now, in most cases, and especially this one, you would more than likely be experiencing frame skip. So what would happen is the emulator can't keep up with the actual game, so it would skip frames. Now, this would give you the speed, it would cheat you into thinking you're experiencing 30 frames per second, but in reality, you would be missing or skipping the majority of those. In my case, because I'm only experiencing 15 in the first place, I would literally only be seeing 15 frames within that second. So to me, once the action starts getting a bit hectic, once the actual emulator starts getting a bit more of an impact, it would look like an absolute dog's dinner when I'm trying to get things done. So yes, it would get it running full speed, but it would look awful actually playing it in that kind of state. For me, anyway. Of course, people's different systems, people's different emulation may differ, but for me, that's why I don't do that kind of thing. But it's a valid option for those of you who want to go down that route, or at least test it out. It may not look as bad for you on your systems. So anyway, we'll address that when this version of the emulator comes out to see if we can squeeze a little bit of performance out of there. But for now, I wouldn't touch it just yet. Okay then guys, that is it. That is Zelda Breath of the Wild. That is the latest news in terms of the Cemu team releasing this emulator. I cannot wait until the 2nd of April till I can get my mitts on this to see how it performs, of course, with Zelda and the rest of the games in this catalogue. I so want so many of these games to become playable now. It's unbelievable. But for now, we're stuck with what we've got, so we'll keep on pushing on and experiencing our other emulation, our other games, and doing what we do on this channel. So it's been a pleasure as always bringing this to you guys. Please like, please subscribe. Please do all the things in this world, especially joining my Discord channel, because we talk about stuff like this every day. But most of all, you have a good day. Laters!